Okay, welcome to this edition of Life Stinks with Mark Death, video edition, and we're going to talk about the best live album ever made. And I should probably stop shaking the table, but here it is, Metallic KO. The amount of influence this has had on me has been pretty big as a performer and maybe just in my life. So I think the best way to start this is a quote from a review from Lester Bangs reviewing this album. He said, "It's the only rock album I know where you can actually hear hurled beer bottles breaking against the guitar strings." So the backstory of this is 2 nights before this was recorded, the Stooges played a show, and I guess there was this huge biker guy, I forget, 6'3", 350 pounds or something, and so he's like throwing eggs at Iggy the entire time. And so Iggy Pop gets off the stage and is like, "Hey, fuck you," etc., and calls the guy out, and the guy just knocks him out. And apparently the guy was a member of this biker gang called the Scorpions. So a couple days later, 1 or 2 days later, before the Michigan Palace show, Iggy gets on the radio and challenges the entire biker gang to a fight, and he's quoted as saying, "Let's have it out and see if you're man enough to deal with the fucking Stooges." So response, the bikers call WABX FM in Detroit and promise to kill the Stooges if they played the Michigan Palace show. So that sets the tone for the show. You can hear glass bottles breaking the entire time. Like, as a kid, this is the band I wanted to be in. I didn't want to be in, like, some of my peers were in bands who were like, this is an exaggeration, but smile on your brother, support the scene and we love everything. Like, I couldn't care less. Like, I wanted to antagonize the audience to a certain degree. And this spoke to me like the Bible probably should have. But so some of the nerd things of it. So it was recorded on a 4-track. I've heard that it was recorded on a cassette 4-track or reel-to-reel. I tend to believe that it's reel-to-reel. Like, did they even have cassette, portable real 4-track recorders in 1975? I don't know. And so this is also, was transferred slower. It sounds like, I just thought they were on heroin, just high. So I didn't really think much of it until I read an article, a couple years ago, and it's like, they're like it makes them a half a step low, but I don't know. I couldn't really tell. It just sounded like they were high. So they transferred it, they corrected the speed, and on CD, in 2007, you can get the correct speed. But it just reminds me of the Robert Johnson debate, where it's people are like, "Oh, the speed is wrong," and people are messing with the speeds. This is how it actually sounds. No, I'm not down with that at all. So actually, this is entirely not their last show. This B-side is The Last Show, which it sounds like it. Side A, October 6, 1973, which is a few months before. But the Last Stooges show, it's February 9th, 1974. There's a double album that has both shows in its entirety. And man, do they sound loose. Like, they definitely sound pretty loose. They like at one point, Iggy's like during Rich Bitch is counting off because they're totally lost. And he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But yeah, it's awesome. Also a little known fact. Well, I mean, unless you're a dork or something, but the piano player, harmonica player, and backing vocal on this record is Scott Thurston, who went on to join Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I could not even make that up, You can clearly hear people throwing rocks, eggs, knives, bottles, jelly beans. So how this record came to pass is Ron Asheton's friend recorded it, like I said. James Williamson got the tape, the guitar player, and he gave a tape of it to UK rock critic James Kent, who in turn gave it to Skydogs Records, and that's how that came out. And the crazy thing about that is, Metallic KO outsold all 3 Stooges albums. Major label Stooges albums. This album, Metallic KO, sold over 100,000 copies as an import the first year. That's insane. I've read interviews with Ron Asheton saying that, like, from the 90s, that he didn't start getting royalties from the Stooges records till the 80s. And, like, it's, I know that, like, they definitely got a hell of a lot of advances for drugs, etc. I mean, it's all well documented, If you haven't read Please Kill Me, you should. But, yeah, it's crazy. It's not like they were in, like, Fleetwood Mac material. But they also weren't selling Fleetwood Mac amount of records. Ron Asheton's bass playing is killer. Like, he sounds great. Like, he's one of the best guitar players ever. But man, he was a really good bass player. And sometimes that doesn't really translate. The between song audience baiting is fantastic. Buttfuckers trying to rule my world. We're the hardest working band. We're the hardest working band in the business, and I don't care if we're the best. And probably the best one is, you're paying $5 and I'm making 10,000, baby. But and then, of course, oh, do you want to hear a 55-minute Louie Louie? And I highly, highly recommend, especially to like a younger person that's like, oh, I'm into punk, whatever, like someone like a nephew or your kid, turn them on to this, because it is rock and roll as fuck. So to close this out, I'm going to play the couple seconds of some of the crowd smashing, and then thanks.
Bass. Oh, baby, come on.
Hopefully
Light bulbs too. Paper cups. Oh my, we're getting violent. Oh, there's 2 guys left the stage. Well, we'll all have to leave. We'll see you later.
And that's rock and roll, baby.